Dennis in New York, you're on with Jenna and Matt. How are you?
Hey, Jenna. Hey, Matt. How are you?
All right.
It's a rough day, but I'm looking at the bright side as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know this show was going to start off with Ed. I've had a lot of bad experience myself. I don't know if you see what's written down there.
I did. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you. So go ahead, tell us your story and what's going on.
Well, I'll make it quick. As far as I was raised a Catholic, at the age of 21, I became a born-again Christian, and I went back and forth to church. 2014, I was diagnosed with CLL, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, but there was a secondary to it. It's called autoimmune hemolytic anemia, which it kills off your hemoglobins.
Right.
It's an antibody that acts the wrong way. So I didn't even realize that I had cancer. So I landed in the hospital with CLL, but my feeling sick and losing oxygen was from the autoimmune hemolytic anemia. So I'm being told I have cancer, but I have a secondary. And that was very hard to grasp. And here's the kicker. I was watching the Atheist Experience for about 6 months. Some of my Christian friends had come to the hospital, and I confessed to them that maybe God was punishing me. And they told me, well, you shouldn't watch shows like the Atheist Experience because the devil is going to work in your life. And it almost was confirming that God was punishing me for watching the Atheist Experience and getting, falling away from God. So I did go back to church for a little bit. And then as time went on, I started still thinking, I want to watch the Atheist Experience. It makes sense to me. The things that you were saying, Matt, one of the things is Exodus 21 that stuck in my mind. But I landed in the hospital with 0 platelets. My bone marrow stopped working and it wasn't making platelets anymore. But I also have post-herpetic neuralgia due to shingles. So I landed in the hospital with post-herpetic neuralgia and 0 platelets. When the doctors finally came up with a solution after 7 days of not knowing what to do, my platelets started to rise up, and my Christian friends said that was a miracle from God. But my post-herpetic neuralgia has not been solved, and I came up with the conclusion is because the doctors cannot solve that problem. The doctors can solve the 0 platelet problem, but they cannot solve the post-herpetic neuralgia problem. So that's when I decided, wait a minute, is science catching up to God or is God catching up to science? Because the whole thing was these doctors are able to do certain things, but they're not able to other things. So how could it be a miracle of God that the 0 platelets are risen up? But my worst thing is pain. And when you spoke about Ed, I mean, there are days, I'm telling you, Matt, where I would rather end my life than to live with 24-hour, 7-day pain, 7 days a week pain. Not that I want to end my life. I still can live life, sort of, but I can't do the things that most people do because of the pain.
Yeah, unlike the theists who were trying to tell you that perhaps God is punishing you for watching Atheist Experience, or perhaps watching the Atheist Experience allowed the devil to get into your life. I'm not going to tell you that watching our show is going to either cure you or cause you any illness, because that's a level of bizarre connection that only a theist could actually, or something very close to a theist could actually advocate for. I'm genuinely sorry that you're dealing with all this. And, as somebody who deals with chronic pain, although mine is incredibly mild compared to, what someone like you would go through, I get it. And I'm glad that you are willing to stick it out and that you have kind of found your way through the BS surrounding your diagnosis and are working with doctors to treat what they can treat, both, systematically and conditionally.
Correct.
Or symptomatically, I guess, not systematically. There we go. But yeah, it's, you reached a point where you stop believing, and yet if you get sick or sicker, then they're going to blame us or the devil. And if you get better, they're going to credit the prayer that they did. In the end, right. The only thing that we can really put any sort of confidence in is the data and the science that works towards curing people and eliminating pain and things like that.
I wonder how much, I guess they don't probably put much thought into this because I didn't used to, but how do we get, from this is a sign to this is a sign from, like how do we know this isn't a sign from any other god? Flying spaghetti monster, I don't know. I just don't, you don't believe anymore, correct?
No, I don't, because I see no reason to. Because like I said, I can't believe in the Bible because to me it's just a bunch of bullshit stories.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, science makes more sense. Adam and Eve doesn't make sense. And if you're a Christian, truly, they believe that Jesus mentions as Adam and Eve as truly, something that really happened. So if you can't believe in Jesus then if you don't believe in Adam and Eve. So the whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. Lot doesn't make any sense. His daughter's sleeping with him. All this stuff I started learning later on. I was more of a Jesus type of guy. Jesus is a good guy. And I didn't really pay attention to the Old Testament. It kind of just flew over my head. I heard the stories, but it didn't make, it didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was Jesus died on the cross. He rose from the dead, and I have everlasting life. And he chose me. Hallelujah. And the tears would run down my eyes sometimes in church. But when you really analyze it, it's got to be the most vicious book in the world.
I agree.
As far as I'm concerned. I mean,
it's certainly on the top 5.
Genocidal murderer. Yeah. So that's like I lost. Honestly, it's not easy for me because I've lost almost all people that were my Christian friends, and now I know politically you can't speak about it, but I've lost a lot of family friends because of the president of the United States now that's in there. So
yeah,
it's
me
a lonely
too.
life for me.
Yeah.
It's tough, and it's like I think I found that people that don't believe in God and believe that we only have this life seem to be the nicer people because they know, for the most part, I mean, not everybody's nice, but they know that this is the only life we have, so let's make the best of it, opposed to going, well, we'll have a wonderful place paved of gold one day and mansions for ourselves, and it's going to be wonderful, and you'll see your mother and your father and your brother and your sister. That starts really sounding like ridiculous in a fairy tale.
Some of the nicest people I know are religious.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say that any group of people is nicer or meaner than another group of people.
Yeah, it's probably a mistake to generalize. Although, if you're in a position like Dennis, where the religious people around you are looking at your condition, and rather than exercising empathy and compassion or trying to tell you that you did something wrong and now God's got it out for you, I can see how that could certainly skew somebody's perception. There are good people who are religious and good people who are not religious, and bad people in both groups as well.
I wonder if you've asked them or thought to ask them how they would feel if they were in your shoes.
Oh, I know what they would say. They would say that I believed in God till the end, but they're not in my shoes.
Yep.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the belief. I'm talking about the situation, the pain that you're in, the suffering. And do you think that you would deserve it if you had this problem?
Well, the post-herpetic neuralgia is probably one of the worst pains known to man. So most people would never experience it. They don't know what it's like.
Don't understand. Yeah.
I'm in pain right now.
I can tell you though.
As I'm speaking to you.
I can tell you though. I have relatives who would absolutely agree with what was said to you, and that they would feel that it was justified to happen to them as well, because their religion has convinced them so much of this that if they were to do the thing that they think you did, then they would deserve the same sort of punishment and everything else. And plus, this whole life is just a place to wipe your feet before the real life, and so none of this really matters anyway. And let's just shrug it all off. And if God gave you free will and you used it this way, and now you're going to pay for it. It is, even if it were true, it would be repugnant. If there's no reason to think it's true, that makes it even worse. So, for you, Dennis, I don't know, if you have a group or community that you can reach out to, but I'll do what we do most of the time, which is recommend the Recovering from Religion and the Secular Therapist Project. I'd also recommend perhaps reaching out to somebody like Dave Warnock, who's, dying from ALS.
Yeah.
And is, been running around talking about that.
Yes, I know. When I've seen him on the show, I think he seems like such a brave person to know what's happening. But I mean, the end result is we all are going to eventually die. But we want to I want to make the best of it. Even with my pain, I have a wife. I don't have any children, but I have a great loving dog, and I still can't do things. But it's a tough life for me, and I'm not trying to look for any pity or whatever. I'm just saying that I never thought this could happen to me, and it did. And when it does happen to you, you think totally differently about other people that have pain. You go, oh, come on. I knew a guy had arthritis, and I used to say, why is he always complaining about his arthritis? Why don't you just do something? And now I look back and I feel like, wow, it's like I wasn't in his shoes. I didn't know what it was like.
Not to minimize your problem. I mean, I can't understand. I'm pretty good at the second I have any kind of pain, I go and I find a way to fix it. And so I can't imagine what it's like for you. But I do struggle with addiction. So I struggle with things that I can't manage. And something that really helped me coming out of rehab was a gratitude list, in that if you're thinking about the things that you're grateful for, it's really hard to think about other things, that are hurting you at the same time. So just, I wonder if that's something you've thought about, if that's worked at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough because it's a constant pain. But I'll give you an example. I was always active, and it's taken me 4 weeks to paint 2 doors where I would have finished my whole house. It's that type of thing. And then I hurt for days afterwards. Are you familiar with post-herpetic neuralgia, Matt? Or
no,
Jenna?
I'm not.
Yeah, you should look it up. You'd see it. It's actually after shingles. I caught shingles, and it's like having shingles, but they never go away or get worse.
I'm sorry for mentioning that. Now that I think about it, that it doesn't make sense, because if you're in constant pain, gratitude list is, you can't do that constantly. That's not something very plausible.
Right.
Sorry.
And it's not a pain that I can describe, because it's not like a twisted ankle. It's not like getting hit even over the head with a baseball bat. No. So, but there's nothing I can do. I have a spinal cord stimulator in my body that didn't work. I went as far as doing that, and that didn't work. I've had epidural injections. I've had steroid injections and cryo-freeze, and you name it, and it just didn't do anything. But the truth is, I'm not that bad where I would want to end my life. But what I worry about is if I got that bad, if it got worse, if something else got worse in my life with the cancer or whatever, I don't know. I mean, part of me would probably want to end my life, but the other part, I want to hang on for other people. But there does come a time. And that's why when you spoke about Ed in the beginning, I was like, I can understand that. And people think it's, what do you call it? What word I'm looking for? A cowardly way out. But I don't think it is. I think it's, if your pain does not stop, what do you got to look forward tomorrow for? More pain?
Yeah. Anybody, granted, I've dealt with people. I know people who think any instance of suicide must be cowardly, and any instance of homelessness must just be laziness. And it's this this inability to put yourself in somebody else's position because you've had a life of privilege and you haven't had to worry about this stuff. I have chronic pain, but I haven't had chronic pain that's more than a mild nuisance for the most part, or an occasional that type of thing. And then I just go on. I can do my best to put myself in the position that somebody else is in. It's one of the reasons why I support a right to die, support death with dignity, not in this willy-nilly, oh, well, let's just end it all. But because we know there are those situations. And I'm very happy that you're not in that exact position, Dennis, but that you've lived with this enough that you can be empathetic to the people who are.
Yeah. Yes.
We wish you well. Thanks for sharing your story. And, if we can
Jenna,
do anything else to help, that'd be great. What's that?
I love you guys, man.
Thank you, Dennis. We love you too. Take care of yourself.
Things get better.
Enjoy your family and your puppers.